All right, look. Trends are great, don't get me wrong. Trends bring new ideas to light, and everything that you like now is most likely a trend at some point in time. So it's not all bad. But when it comes to our homes, the last thing we want is to change our mind about something that we have designed, or always long for the next new thing, or feel like our current style is no longer trendy or out of date because social media said so. Not only is this super expensive, but it's super stressful to feel like you need to go out and replace an item in your home to try to keep up with the trends. Your home is your home and you can do whatever you want and you could just do you. So in today's video, we're gonna be talking about how to skip the trends and find your own style to hopefully avoid this issue in the future. If I were to be searching for my new sense of style today, these are the steps that I would take. So this is the list I came up with, and hopefully you find this helpful. So step one is to forget about what's in and what's out. Instead, I want you to focus on your interests, what brings you joy, your hobbies, and what makes you feel at home. So whether that's vintage finds or themed spaces or DIY projects, the point of this is we want your personality to show through in your home. So take a second to sit down, pull out a journal, a pen, and write down your hobbies that you love, your interests, things that bring joy to your life, your favorite colors, patterns, and anything else that you can think of that you just love overall. And make a list of things, okay? That's what I want you to do first. I'm trying to make this easy. And I feel like this will be helpful in the end. And then next, I want you to write down a list of how you like your home to feel on the daily, how you like your home to look on the daily. Even if it's not how your home currently looks, maybe it's like your ideal way of how you want it to look and feel, write that down. So what I mean by that is, are you an organized person? Do you care about your home being organized, looking organized? Or are you a bit messy? Do you like your items displayed? Or do you like your items hidden away? Are you more of a minimalist with minimal decor? Or are you a maximalist? Do you like for your spaces to feel more moody? Or do you like your spaces to feel light and airy? Do you care about comfort over looks? So write down as many things as you can think of that are important to you in a home, and this will all come into play later. Step two is to find inspiration and explore different styles, and you can loosely base it around the list that you just created. If you want, it might be difficult. So if you can't do that, then find photos that are just interesting, that have pieces that you love. Now, I'm not saying that you can't look to trends for this. In fact, I encourage you to look at trends and aesthetics because it's very hard for a lot of us to just come up with a space in our head on our own, or just like specific items on our own. So go on Pinterest, find your favorite interior design spaces and save it in an album for later. Now, they do not need to be surrounding one certain type of style. Just choose anything you like. For instance, if you like a wall color, save that. If you like a print, save that. If you like the way someone displayed their guitar on a wall, save that. We aren't aiming for an overall theme here. We're just going for anything that you look at and you absolutely love and it brings you joy. I'm also a really big fan of aesthetics because it's surrounding a specific thing. If there's an aesthetic that is based off of one of your favorite interests, I highly recommend looking up that as well. All right, so step three is to go through your home and see what items you already own. That's important. That reflect your interests, that reflect the things that you absolutely love. So look for things that inspire you, that have sentimental value, or that tell a story based around that list that you made. Whether this be a travel mug, or a piece of artwork your friend made for you, or something that you just thrifted. It's these personal touches that are really going to add that depth and character into your home. For instance, I have a lot of vintage pieces that I've collected. I'm not really a sentimental person, so I don't really have a lot of sentimental items to include in my space, but I do have a lot of thrifted pieces, like my wall sconces. So when you find items like that in your home that you know you're planning on keeping and they reflect who you are, the things that you love, your interests, all those great things. Now you have a starting point of what you can bring in your home to build around those items. So you just want to start by curating a small collection in your home of things you love, items you already own, before you go out and purchase those big ticket items like a couch or a dining room table. You know, we want to start small with what we already have. And if you already have big ticket items like, I'm just gonna say it, a Victorian couch, because that's just something I really, really want. And you know for sure you want to keep that and you want to build around that. That's like the perfect starting point. So it could be a small item or it could be a big item. But if you currently have nothing in your space that you feel like you really love, start small. Now I wanted to take a second to introduce today's sponsor of the video, which is 𝚘𝚘𝚘. Now you've most likely heard of 𝚘𝚘𝚘 because I have been a fan of this brand for a really long time and I've constantly been seeking out their furniture items, and I'm so lucky to be able to work with them today. Founded in 2012, 𝚘𝚘𝚘 has blossomed into an esteemed global furnishing brand. They have an extensive and diverse collection of items offering precisely what you seek, providing not just options but opportunities for you to discover the item that echoes your essence and your lifestyle. So for my living room, I really wanted to make it feel luxurious by adding some lighting that you just normally wouldn't see in an apartment. So I ended up going with a tiered crystal chandelier. This is a heavy-duty, high-quality chandelier, and it's definitely the nicest light I've ever owned. It captures the light beautifully. When the light is turned on, you kind of see rainbows on the ceiling. And I'm also not the biggest fan of overhead light in general, but when it's diffused through crystals, it puts off like this design all over the ceiling and it looks beautiful. I also went with warm lighting and a low lumen count, so it would give off that soft lighting in the night. I'm not going to show what it looks like in my entire living room just yet because that is going to be saved for my makeover. I also got a LED flush mount light because I was looking for something that was a bit more modern to go into my sci-fi office makeover. Again, something that's coming out in the future. They had so many good options for this type of light, but I did end up going with something that was rectangle, which kind of mimics the design that's happening in the room. Again, can't show you just yet, but the light is so beautiful. It has many dimming options and color options, which is really good when it comes to LED because you just don't always want that bright fluorescent light. If you are interested in checking out the items I just mentioned or just other items that 𝚘𝚘𝚘 has to offer, I will link all of their information below along with a discount code. Thank you so much to 𝚘𝚘𝚘 for sponsoring today's video, and let's get back to it. Step 4 is really fun. This is to make a mood board. So now it's time to go through your Pinterest board that you made, go through those photos. I want you to look at each photo and find the item that you liked. Oh, you like that rug? Take a screenshot of the rug, crop it, go into an app like Canva, put the rug there, okay? And continue doing that with all the items that you like. It could be the wall color, as I mentioned before, a pattern, it could be a texture. Get creative, mix and match. It doesn't have to be cohesive. The point is to get everything that you love into a mood board so you get a visual. So this room could be fictional, or it could be, a room that's actually in your place that you feel like making over in the future. But it's a really good experiment to see a collection of all of the things that you love come together, Now, it is your home, so there's no rules. So don't think about, oh, this isn't gonna go with this, or this is gonna look weird, or this doesn't all have the same color. Like, don't really think about anything. It is your home, so there are absolutely no rules. So don't feel limited to one particular design style. Experiment with mixing different elements, eras, and design styles to create an authentic interior design that is yours. The good thing about creating a space that is your own style and just mixing different elements of things that you love is that you can bring in something kind of off the cuff and it will still work because you have a mixture of things. For instance, I saw this photo on Pinterest and I just thought it was so gorgeous the way that she brought in these pieces of furniture with this almost traditional style. And here are some other examples of that as well. These rooms just look so unique because it does not look like someone went into a furniture store and got everything off of the floor to match. And everything looks handpicked, like it has its own backstory to it, and that's just amazing. When you are ready to finally start investing in those big ticket items, there's some things that you need to do prior to doing that. You need to know your limitations within your space. You need to know the dimensions of the space, and you should follow the basic rules of interior design. Now, you don't have to follow the basic rules. This is just a suggestion, but there is something to be said for a room feeling too small or not flowing properly due to the layout. So I would say do it. As for limitations of a space, what I mean is if you're renting, can you put holes in the wall? Can you paint? Maybe there's only one outlet in your living room, so if you want a TV, you're gonna have to know that the TV can only go on that wall and everything has to now be created around that. Or maybe you do own a house and you just have limitations because of budget. But I will say having limitations is actually super helpful. Yeah, having limitations can make it much easier because now you have limits on what you can and can't do in a space. So it narrows it down. It's like when you go to a cheesecake factory and you get a menu that's 100 pages long, you're overwhelmed with so many different choices. And then when you go to a restaurant that has 4 choices, you're like, well, there's only 4 things to choose from. So this is a lot easier. It's the same thing. If there are limitations, figure out what those are first. Next, you need to figure out the dimensions of your space. I mean, this goes without saying, but I'm gonna act like you don't know this or you didn't think about it, because when it comes to adding furniture and decor, you need to take in consideration the size that is appropriate for the room. If you do not do this beforehand, you're gonna end up with something entirely wrong. Trust me, don't do this. Figure out the dimensions beforehand. In fact, I highly recommend when you find a piece of furniture that you do like, look at the dimensions, make a cardboard cutout and lay it out on the floor, all of your pieces of furniture you want, so you can actually get an understanding of how much floor space it's going to take up, if it's going to be in the way, and so on and so forth. But what goes hand in hand with the dimensions is making sure you're following the rules of basic design. For instance, if you're wanting a chandelier in your living room, there is a way to calculate what size chandelier should go into that space depending on the size of your room. But the fact that a sofa shouldn't occupy the entire length of a wall, and that there should be at least 18 inches on either side, and that your drapes should never be hung at the top of the window frame because it makes your room feel super small. So you don't have to follow these rules. I'm not saying you have to follow them, but I will say it makes designing a space 1,000 times easier. And since I'm not going into all of the basic rules of design, I highly recommend when you are designing your space to look up specific things, especially if you are kind of stuck and you're like, oh, should this go here? Just do a quick Google search. Again, you don't have to follow this perfectly because every space is different, but they are good rules to go by. And lastly, before you bring your vision to life, I would say do a mock-up on top of the mood board you already created. That's if you're capable of doing that. People always ask how I do mine. I do mine in Procreate, which is an app on the iPad, but I'm sure there are some other ways to do this. You could even reach out to someone on Fiverr to do this as well if you're like super serious about getting it right. But I personally like doing this because I get a visual and I can change different paint colors and furniture items and decor items to really see what it's gonna look like before I invest a bunch of money into doing a makeover. But if you don't do the mock-up, that's totally fine. I would say before you go out and buy those big furniture items, to do your wall color you have in mind first, your wall color, your wallpaper. The reason I say this is because wall color can be changed, but if you buy furniture items to go with a wall color and you end up not liking the wall color, well, you just spent a bunch of money on furniture. What a waste, right? So definitely do the wall color first because sometimes swatches can be very deceiving. I don't like this color at all. It reminds me of a kid's playroom or a skating rink. It's giving 80s. Learn from me, and you think you're gonna love it, and then you see it on a much larger scale and you realize, oh my gosh, this is not what I expected. Now, if you already have your big furniture items and you're painting the walls to kind of match that, well then this doesn't apply to you. So once you have the wall color, it's finally time to add in all of those extra pieces and create this amazing space that is uniquely you. Well, that is it. Hopefully this helps you out when it comes to curating your own sense of unique style. And yeah, if you have any questions or if there's something that I didn't touch up on here, let me know below in the comments and I'll see you in the next one.